What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. And you know, there's reasons that things happen in life, right? There's always a reason behind everything that you see happening in the world around you. Nothing happens by accident. Anytime you see, especially in the entertainment space, something just turning into complete crap that was once great, now all of a sudden it's complete crap. There's always a very obvious reason for that, and the MCU Phase 4, no different, okay? The clear and obvious reason that the MCU Phase 4 had just went to complete shit was because they abandoned paying any attention at all to the fans and what the fans wanted. And now they actually have no problem admitting, yeah, we're not really interested in the fans' opinions. From Screen Rant, why Marvel is hesitant to hire comic fans as MCU writers. Probably something they should be absolutely trying to do. They're actually hesitant to do. Despite what many may believe, Marvel Studios producer Nate Morris says being a huge comics fan is actually a red flag when hiring MCU writers. So being a fan now, that's a red flag. We don't want you guys anywhere around our production. We want the fans out of here. We're going to bring in all of these people that know absolutely nothing about comic books, and that's the people that you want to hire. Unreal. Let's go ahead and check this article out. This won't take long. So it starts off, although the Marvel Cinematic Universe was built on the shoulders of its comic book counterparts, Marvel is surprisingly hesitant to hire comic fans as MCU writers. It is not a stretch by any means to imagine that anyone affiliated with the MCU was probably nose deep in the comics growing up. Marvel studio Kevin Feige, of course, you guys know he was a super fan, and they put him in charge of the franchise, and it seemed to work out pretty good, right? But Nate Moore, who has been a producer on many MCU films from Captain America, the Winter Soldier, to Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, reveals that being a major comic fan is a red flag when it comes to hiring MCU writers. And then he starts talking about it. He did it on this podcast, The Town, with Matthew Baloney. So here's his particular comments. Let's read through this. For me, one thing I think is interesting about Marvel's process, and specifically for writers, I would say a lot of the times we're pitched writers who love Marvel. And to me, that's always a red flag, because I go, oh, I don't want you to already have a pre-existing idea of what it is because you grew up with issue 15 and that's what you want to recreate. I want somebody who's hard on the material, who goes, what is this? I think there is a movie here, but maybe we should be looking at it in this way. And I think, again, the best example of that was Marcus and McFeely, who weren't comic guys growing up, but were like, wait, Captain America, this seems a bit weird. What if we kind of looked at it in this way? And they weren't married to anything. Nothing was, there was nothing sacrosanct. And I think that's important to be able to go to, look, the source material is great and I love it, and the comics work great in the medium they were built in, but that's not a direct one-to-one translation for the best version of the movie. See, here's the thing about it. The fans that built the comics to what they were, the ones that purchased the books, the ones that bought the merch, the ones that made Marvel what Marvel was, okay? Marvel wasn't just, oh, we just sprouted out and became this big giant comic book company without any, no, they did it with the fans, okay? The fans bought into what they were selling, and they were the ones that built up all of these characters that you're seeing in the MCU right now. Well, not all of them. Some of them are still not beloved, but most of these guys, they are beloved from 50, 60 years ago. And they aren't even understanding that, hey, these guys, the fans that have been following this stuff, buying the comic books, making this particular character as popular as this character is, all right? These are the first people that they should be going to, right? But this guy says, no, we don't want anybody that knows too much about it because they'll be, too attached to the material. They don't want to lead. No, we got to stay with this. This is where this character is. This is who this character This is who this particular character is. This is what we need to stick with. They don't want to do that. This goes right back to understanding your audience, okay? Understanding who you're making these films for, understanding what makes these characters great to begin with. This is the stuff that Marvel doesn't seem to quite understand. They keep screwing it up. They keep dropping the ball at this particular crucial juncture, okay? And they'll argue, well, we're really not making these movies for comic book fans. We're making them for movie fans. But the problem is you're taking stuff from comic books and you're trying to translate it into a movie, and you're flopping all over the place, okay? You saw what you did in the box offices all through Phase 4. Black Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi, you're not hitting the nail, okay? You're getting close in some places, but you're getting far away in others, all right? Then you get the Doctor Strange, you get the Thor, Love and Thunder, and now you got Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. There's all kinds of issues with all of these films, and they aren't understanding it. And let's not get started on the television series, because just about every television series has had major issues with it. But it comes back to understanding exactly what fans of a particular genre would be looking for. So even though you're talking about, hey, we're not making this for comic book fans, we're making it for movie fans, you still have to understand what is it about the comic book genre, what it is about these characters that people are attracted to in the first place. And if you don't understand that, then you're going to make Phase 4. Basically, you're going to do Phase 4 because you don't understand your comic books, you don't understand the characters, you don't understand the fans. And I just find it absolutely hilarious. It's almost like the Tom Shippey situation all over again, right? These damn fans are getting in the way of our wokeness, okay? Because that's really what it is. They don't want to be beholden to the source material because they want to be able to wokeify everything in their path, all right? And that's not what the comic books did, okay? Back in the day, comic books were just telling good stories, all right? You wouldn't be able to keep fans along for the ride if all you were doing is just telling woke nonsense. So they want to play around in a world they didn't create, and the fans are like, yeah, that's not going to work. Nobody's going to pay attention to that. Nobody's going to like this, all right? And I love how they went and picked out like the one situation that actually worked. Captain America, Marcus and McFeely, they kind of picked these guys out of this particular situation and say, yeah, these guys made it work, And these guys weren't comic book guys, but they made it work. It's like they chose like the one example out of all of their other crap where it worked. And they say, yeah, that's the rule right there. The reality is these guys are the exception. All right. They're the outlier. Yeah, Captain America Winter Soldier was great. Combined with everything that they did, phenomenal job. But that's the exception, not the rule. Okay. The rule of all of this stuff is what you saw with She-Hulk a couple of weeks ago, right? She-Hulk being just absolute trash from beginning to end. That's what happens when you find people that absolutely know nothing about the comics, okay? And they just want to play around in this little sandbox like Ryan Johnson or something, and they're not trying to honor the source material whatsoever. Sometimes it takes someone who's out of this culture to go, hey, I know you think it should be like this, but maybe it should be this other thing. And the thing about it is, it's like he's right about this part that, you can't directly translate comics to the movies, okay? They're two completely different mediums, all right? One has just, pictures on a static page and just watching and looking at pictures and you're reading bubbles, right? You're reading thought bubbles and there's a different way of telling that particular story versus you can combine music with audio and visual storytelling in a movie, okay? So it's completely different. I understand that. But the whole point is to keep it close to the original source material as close as humanly possible. Your job is not to completely rewrite the material. That's the wrong method, and that's what's happening again. That's why Phase 4 is like this. As crucial as the source material obviously is, there has been evidence suggesting that straying away from the comics has been beneficial for the MCU. The greatest example of this might be most apparent in the Thor franchise. Chris Hemsworth, God of Thunder, was void of anything resembling a personality in his first MCU outing, which is not far from his comic book counterpart. The humor almost exclusively came from the fish out of water trope that comes with being from another planet, which was a shame given Hemsworth's natural knack for comedy. When he teamed with Taika Waititi, however, he gave Thor his own spin and became the goofy god that fans loved in Thor Ragnarok, so on and so forth. And the thing about it is, like, yeah, that can get away. You can get away with that once, okay? You can kind of change up the personality and get away with that once, okay? But fans have been like completely against it from that point. All right, see Thor Love and Thunder, for example, okay? Nobody's loving that film the same way they loved Ragnarok. And they're saying, yeah, this kind of goofy god nonsense is not working. It's not working. We want to see a more serious Thor. They've turned Thor into an absolute joke. And nobody takes him seriously anymore. So you've completely ruined the character by saying, oh, we're just going to be goofy. We're going to have the goofy guy. Nobody likes this character anymore. So yeah, you got away with it once, but you cannot spin that again and again and again. That's again coming back to understanding what made Thor a solid character from the very beginning of his roots. All the way through, he's never gotten away with just, oh, I'm just a goofy god. You can get away with that in one film because you've established him one way and now you're kind of going against the grain, in a one-off type of a film. It can work, all right? But completely keeping him in that same vein, it absolutely is trash and it has completely ruined this character. Robert Downey Jr. forever changed the course of Tony Stark in his first appearance as Iron Man, whose performance was such a hit that it has gone on to influence the character, new comic book portrayals. I think Robert Downey Jr. again is a great actor, and I think that people have kind of taken what he's done in Iron Man and they're saying, yeah, this might actually be a cool version of Tony Stark. But he didn't completely go all the way out of what Tony Stark is. Tony Stark is kind of the same character in a sense that Robert Downey Jr. portrayed. He's really never strayed that far away from who Tony Stark is. It would seem this news would break the heart of any aspiring MCU writer who grew up loving the comics. No, look, it breaks the heart of everybody that actually loves the comics and the MCU in the first 3 phases, okay? But we have seen from phase 4 that whatever Marvel thought that they had, it didn't work, okay? You had great actors, writers, and directors that kind of put it together in those first 3 phases. Phase 4 has just been an unmitigated disaster. They don't want to admit it, and they're going to try to spin it around and say everything that they can to just avoid the fact that, hey, you guys fucked up, okay? You had a good thing going, and you completely dropped the ball. By this stage of Marvel, they should be running on all cylinders. They should be running laps around everybody in Hollywood, but they can't. I mean, that's just the saddest part about this is that Marvel had a great thing and they've completely ruined it. And they've done so by going away from fans, going towards their woke little Hollywood bubble, focusing on this little bubble of talent pool that they have, whether it be directors, screenwriters, or whatever, that are just flying off at the handle. They're not sticking to what made comics great, okay? The funny thing is when you sit back and think about it, like the superhero genre itself, it can get kind of old and tired if you don't do it right. Comic books have always kind of gone through peaks and valleys, you know? They've kind of been great and then they've been not so great. And the fans are the ones that kind of ride it out and stick through it all. But the funny thing is that it seems like Marvel hasn't figured that out. In my opinion, the superhero genre in film, that's about to go through a valley, all right? It's going to go through a valley, and Marvel's the one that's kind of leading it down into that valley, you know? Maybe DC, if James Gunn has his head screwed on straight, maybe he can kind of direct it and pull it out, and then maybe DC can rise high for a few years. But nevertheless, folks, what do you think about these guys basically saying, you fans, all you lovely fans that have built this thing up, you guys are red flags when it comes to writing and figuring out how we're going to tell these stories. We don't want you anywhere around the material whatsoever. Go ahead, folks, get down in the comments. Give me your thoughts and your opinions on that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.